Paisans, we're back. Ciao, Paisans. Welcome back to the premier Serie A podcast in all the land, Calcio Culture. I am your host today, Logs. I am here with my co-host and fellow depressant, Motts. No Vos today. He's a bit busy, but that's all right because Motts and I need a therapy sesh with our Paisans. Welcome back to Calcio Culture. This episode is brought to you by none other than BetterHelp. They are actually not sponsoring us, but we certainly needed their help over the last month after the results of this Serie A season. What a banger it was, just not for Milan and not for Juve. A really tough go in the dead of the season. But before we get into it all, I will pass it off to Motts. Motts, it's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while. I'm in a similar boat with you, Logs. It's been a very depressing, very sad, month or so now that the Juventus has not qualified for the Champions League. Utter disaster. But we had to come back. We needed some time off, which we fully own. We fully own that. And we do apologize to the Paisans, but it was a tough pill to swallow.
It was a tough pill to swallow, but I do think that we have some news coming in at the end of this episode that will certainly make up for some lost time. But again, we do apologize. It's been a tough ride. It's been a tough ride. My doctor finally believed me and prescribed me some antidepressants. He started following Max Allegri's terrorism and fed into it and understands the pain that I've gone through this season. So he finally got me on those. We're right in the ship there. Motts, you brought in Spalletti in 6th. You ended in 6th. So not really sure what the outcome is there, what the assessment is from a Juventus standpoint, but we will jump into it. Paisans, it is our job to bring this all full circle here for you. And so just to get us on the same page to make sure that we're all on the right path here. Top 4, Serie A 2025. As we know, Inter in the Scudetto seat. They get their 30th Scudetto? Scudetti? 30th?
30th? No, they got 20 with Inzaghi, and this is their 21st.
21st. They just got the second star. Napoli in second with their own turmoil. And in classic Antonio Conte fashion, out after 2
mercenary
seasons at Napoli. 2-year mercenary. Classic Conte. And honestly, weird move by De Laurentiis by bringing in Max Allegri, the guy that couldn't get the job done against this Napoli team. They bring him in. Max Allegri, officially the manager for Napoli. I think he got a 2-year contract, 2-year deal.
He's got some dirt. He's got some dirt on all these Serie A teams because he keeps getting a job and he does not deserve one.
And you know who has dirt on him? Is Adrian Rabiot and his mom, because he is heavily linked to Napoli at this point in time, and I do believe that Adrian Rabiot is more than happy to make that move to a top 4 team in Napoli. We will see how that shakes out. In third, the team that I could not have hated on more this season, and I won't apologize for it. I was right for most of the season. It kind of just ended up that the rest of the teams around them did shit, but that is Roma. Gasperini gets the job done, finishing in third with Roma, even after a pretty rocky season at the helm for Roma.
Definitely rocky season, but if you look at their last 5 games, 5 wins, I will say this because it came down to the wire. Roma was able to get this spot due to 2 players, goalie Svilar making big saves when needed to, and then Daniel Malin scoring goals. Those are you stop goals from going in and you score goals, you get wins and you get points. You make Champions League.
That's the name of it. It's that easy. That's the name of the game. And for whatever reason, there are 2 Titans that could not figure it out. Rounding it out, newcomer to the land, fan of the pod, a personal favorite of mine. If Fiorentina wasn't my Gumar, it certainly is Como. The little lads by the lake coming in 4th, rounding out top 4, getting Champions League ball next year. Cesc Fabregas, an absolute masterclass at the helm here. Shout out to Nico Paz. He's on to greener pastures. But this roster is going to be just...
Potentially
not. But probably on to greener pastures.
He said he wants to stay in Como.
He does. But Real Madrid in a little bit of turmoil themselves. Not sure that they're going to let him stay in Como. But I feel as though this roster is going to be just fine next year. This is an exciting team.
They have proved over the last 2 years that they scout well. They get players that fit their system. They believe in their system. They believe in the young talent. They'll trust them, and they turn young talent into players that are ready. And way back when, in the preseason episodes of our ranking, I don't know if you recall. I don't want to speak on this too much because my predictions were god awful everywhere else. But I did have Como in a European spot. It wasn't Champions League. I believe I had him fifth or sixth. I was on their scent, but they even overachieved what I thought. And it is very impressive. And other Serie A teams need to look at what Como did and do the same thing. Granted, they did spend a lot of money, 120 mil this summer, but they spent it wisely. They spent it on players that fit their system. And this is a blueprint that teams can use moving forward. And I'm talking teams as small as the newly promoted teams and as teams as large as Milan and Juventus. Every team should look to Como to try to replicate it somehow, some way, because it's clearly a winning formula, and they had a great season.
Yeah, the rise of Como is something that should be studied. It'll go down in history books. I mean, they were in Serie D all of 4 or 5 seasons ago. Monstrous rise to Serie A, and not even just in Italy, but the fame has at least this season. And maybe there's a little bit of bias there with Thierry Henry's ownership stake in there, but to the main stage, right? There was coverage of Como even on Champions League Tuesday and Wednesday talk shows, and so this team has certainly gotten the rounds across Europe. They will be an interesting team to take on in the Champions League next season. And not only that, but they are making immense progress on their new stadium. It's going to be a beautiful specimen to be able to play by the lake in the Champions League, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and at the very least, it'll be a good representation of Italian soccer
Hmm.
in European because they play an attractive style of football. Now, granted, it's going to look probably a little different because although they've spent a good amount of money in the Serie A, in retrospect, they will be going up against some big names. A lot of these guys will be the first time in the Champions League, so there might be a little learning curve. But we've seen Como execute with learning curves and big challenges as they finished in fourth this season and a newly promoted team last season where it was able to finish in 10th. So it seems like Fabregas and the Como players kind of thrive in that environment. So I'm excited to see what they deliver in the Champions League this year. Good for Como. Tip your cap.
Good for Kono, and, Fabregas has been here before. I'm not sure that this stage is too big for him, and I don't think it'll be too big for Como. It'll be an interesting campaign next year, but that does round out top 4. That will be our Champions League representation for Serie A come next fall, and it hurts me to get onto this next one, but we do have to go to the 2 Europa League spots as a result of Inter winning Copa. In 5th, outside of the top 4, the one objective for the entire season, AC Milan. The Rossoneri end up in 5th. I'm just gonna recite my notes here. I don't think there's any reason to paraphrase this, but fuck Allegri and everything that he stands by. Milan clean house. Allegri is out. Pare is out. Alani is out. Okada is out. The only one left standing by Redbird Capital and Jerry Cardinale, that bum, is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who as of today, has already lost his say at the top of the house. He had no say in bringing in the new Milan manager and Oliver Glasner. If you are not aware of Glasner's resume here, has had a stupendous last 2 years at Crystal Palace, had led them to not only an FA Cup, but a Conference League title as well. And Crystal Palace has also had some pretty good talent come through the last 2 years. Maybe not so much the doing of Oliver Glasner, but certainly someone who can market some talent on the way.
Can market some talent, but at the very least can manage a team when the talent also leaves. I think
Right.
that is something to look at, right?
Good point.
A person that you didn't mention on that list of out is Liao. He has fully said, I want to leave. Obviously, that's a different part. You can't really fire Liao. You have to sell him. You got to find a team that wants to buy him. Now, obviously, we know what Liao is capable of, but we also know what he does on a consistent basis and his attitude problems. So I do think there might be a struggle to find a place or a team that wants to buy him, albeit it will be on a discount 40, 50 mil probably because of his poor form and his attitude problems. But I think that could be good for Milan, right? We've been saying it since 2 seasons ago. Tio and Liao can't work. They got rid of Tio. Now it's just Liao. Liao doesn't work. Like your best player cannot be pouting, not non-sacrificing for the team, not buying into the system, throwing a fit when he's subbed off, and then not performing when he plays and scoring goals and executing. So it'll definitely be maybe a sad goodbye because it kind of is like Liao had such a good season when he was so young, and it was like this guy's the next star to come, and he didn't really live up to his potential. But at the same time, you can look at it as we get this guy out, we get some guys with better mindsets in that will buy into the system, and maybe you can let Christian Pulisic shine a little bit more in his natural position, be more of a leader as we know that he is for Team USA. So I know that was a real long tangent, but the manager has proven he can win games and he can have his best player leave and still win games as I'm pronouncing his name wrong.
Michael Olise
Olise left 2 years ago, and then Eze left the year after that to Arsenal.
and Mark Gahey, let's not forget.
Exactly. So, and he's proven that it doesn't matter. We can still win games.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate all your points there. I'm decently excited for Glasner to come in. It also kind of sucks that he was our second choice. I know Anthony Iraola out of Bournemouth was our number one choice. He was pulled away by Leverkusen, then subsequently now he signed at Liverpool. So not that we ever had a real chance there, but that was our top choice. We almost also lost Oliver Glasner to Feyenoord. The fact that Milan is now just fighting for managers with Feyenoord is a whole nother conversation. But as you were talking, Motts, I got upset again. I kind of was able to ignore the results of the season for a couple weeks there when we weren't recording. But this is horrid. This is really bad. It's infuriating, and I really got to face the heat here. We hid from it for far too long over the last month, but really got to face the heat here, and to see Leao come out and finally quit on this Milan project, come out on his own socials and say, I got to get out of here. We've got Luka Modric, who has been a lifelong AC Milan fan, leaving, tiring. We've pushed Luka Modric, Ballon d'Or winning
I mean,
Luka
he's also
Modric.
40.
We pushed him to retirement. We've got Christian Pulisic, who, as far as I can tell from the preseason of this World Cup, essentially quit on Milan and was fully just preparing for the World Cup because he looks great. He looks nothing like he was playing the last third of this season for Milan. And I'm not even really sure who we're bringing in. I don't even know who our targets are this summer. We've got suitors for Yashari, we've got suitors for Ricci, and to be honest, I don't even know what the direction of this club is. I don't know what Glasner is gonna look to do when he comes in, to be honest. And we've squandered so much talent the last 2 seasons under some terrible management. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to go into Europa League next year, not the budget that we wanted. I think the difference between 4th and 5th was like something of the tune of like 24 million euro, which is a really solid player. That in totality is a really solid player in terms of a difference.
But you do have some names, as you just mentioned, that can bring you some funds in, like a Leao. I don't think you guys should move on from some players so quickly, like Ricci and Jasari. This is what I'll say, is that is what happens when you have a manager who requires or
is a bum.
He handcuffs every single player. When you have a Leao and a Pulisic who thrive on attacking and their job is to play left back and right back, it's going to frustrate them and they're not going to be able to live up to their full potential. When you have a player like Ricci who's taking the next step, he's going to have some growing pains, some mistakes, but you have to play him in order to let him fly, to let him grow, to let him could become into the player that he is going to come into by getting the experience. And Allegri doesn't do that. He plays a specific style of football. He does not like it when any player goes against anything he says. He freaks out on them. And then football, we say it all the time, it's a confidence game. It really is what your confidence is. And when you have a manager who's not playing you game in and game out, you have no confidence, and it's hard to capitalize on the 15, 30 minutes that you get. I thought Nkunku did a great job doing that at the end of the season.
Yes,
that's a promising person that you're going to have. So listen, and Nkunku is the type of an Eze, right? He plays the same position, and he thrived under this manager, right? Olise thrived under this manager as well on the wing, and you still have Christian Pulisic there as well. So there's some things that you guys can take into next season as a positive. But yeah, this is gonna be a really, really bad taste in your mouth because You guys didn't make the Champions League last year. Allegri's was brought in because he's good at making the Champions League. But then you found yourself somewhat in the Scudetto race, and Allegri basically spoke into existence not making the Champions League because we didn't care about the Scudetto. So it really is. I can understand why you're frustrated and you're upset because the season and Allegri, but he's gone. Wash your hands with him. Wash your hands with almost everybody. They're cleaning house, and then we'll see what is to come for Milan this season. But I think you can shave some fat off this team and have some pretty good players in the locker room to make a push for Champions League next season. And this is what I'll say as well. And
Tell me.
and I'm going to say this about Juventus as well. I think it was the season before we started this podcast was the last season that the Serie A had legitimate teams that went far in the Champions League, besides Inter making the Champions League final a couple times. Like that, Milan versus Inter was the quarterfinal, and I believe there was one other team in the quarterfinal as well. It was almost a Italian Champions League final 3 years ago. Since then, no team has made it past like the knockout round, or like no team has made it far at all.
Mhm.
I genuinely think that not generally, like Milan and Juventus will be better than a lot of teams besides like the Premier League teams that are in this competition. There is a legitimate chance that that Milan and Juventus can make a deep run, make the finals, win this trophy, take that money, and then build some momentum on this lower level competition that's still European, right? Why not? I would be excited. I am a little excited for the Europa League just because it's kind of we're more in the stages that Milan and Juventus are in. Unfortunately, we have to admit it. This is where we are. Like this is our ballpark. We're not in the Champions League ballpark right now, so we can go in every game with a realistic like looking at this game. Like we can win this game. We can win this tournament. We can't win the Champions League, right? So you
That's
got to.
fair. I mean, I've never heard you so supportive of my squad before. I don't know if you're making up for some past sins or whatnot, but that was really supportive, Motts.
I
I
think you
think
got
I
some
think
good pieces.
the future is brighter. I really do. I think the future is brighter after what you just said. But I think the biggest part that I would agree with is Milan specifically not going to be at a Champions League competitive level come next season. And so maybe Europa League is the better place to be. I'd hate to say that, but the more that you start to accept mediocrity like that, I think you get into a dangerous spot, just as we did this season. But it is what it is. The only good thing about where we finish is that Allegri's contract was not auto renewed, so we were able to get out of that pretty quickly, and we'll see what happens. But with that being said, Allegri again moving on very quickly, hopping to Napoli. Do you think that Napoli gets anything different out of Max, or is it going to be
The
what
exact
just
same.
happened to Milan?
And I think you're looking at the 2.0 of Kevin De Bruyne pushing him to retirement or at least into another league because he could go MLS or Saudi. But I mean, Allegri is going to clamp up Kevin De Bruyne and not let him be the creative player that he is. And then who's really going to take a hit here and see his play take steps back is Scott McTominay. I mean, this guy scores 10, 11, 12 goals a season, and it's just what Allegri does. He doesn't allow his players to breathe and succeed. And I don't understand. Like this was such a bad move, and it's not. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be shocked at all. In De Laurentiis, like this is just what he does. It's who he is. He's as well as he runs a team. He also runs it just as shitty at times as well. Like, what has Allegri done in his stint at Juve 2.0 or this year at Milan to be like, that's our guy?
It didn't make any sense to me. It seemed very quick, and it actually came out, just reminded me, it came out that the week prior to match week 38, Allegri already had an agreement with Napoli to become the manager. So going into the final match day, Allegri was already out the door, which is
Did he really? I didn't know
infuriating.
that.
Infuriating. True
Yeah,
story.
that's
True story.
terrible.
But, screw it. Take him. Please take him. Napoli is going to hate the season that they are going to have next year, and I do not feel for them
And
at all. I think your
I'm
point about
thinking
Scott McTominay is huge. He's going to squander the talent that McTominay is, He's going to squander the last years of KDB's
Hoyland,
career. Hoyland, well, he likes to say he likes a big striker, so maybe Hoyland fits in that system. I have not a clue. I don't see it happening. They have they have a ton of talent at the wing, and he's going to force all of those wingers to try to play the second nine. Going to be a disaster. The
it,
Napoli's wingbacks completely unprepared for the challenge that they need to in Allegri's system. The only thing that might work here is that in theory, on paper, their three center backs are incredibly strong. Now, we also saw these three center backs struggle this year. So it remains to be seen whether those three center backs being Buongiorno, Rahmani, and Bukama can come into Allegri's system and hold down the fort enough so that when their offense becomes nothing, they can still compete for top four. I don't see it happening.
yeah, you know what? I'm as you were kind of speaking, a couple thoughts entered my mind, and maybe why he picked Allegri. It could be because Allegri has shown that he can have success in two competitions. And last summer, De Laurentiis made all the investments to have a deep enough lineup to compete in two competitions, and they sucked in the Champions League. I don't think they'll be better in the Champions League because of his style of play, but that could be it. And as much as De Laurentiis shits on Juventus, he's kind of just took what Juventus did that, and by no means am I saying this is going to catapult Napoli into like a dynasty for the Serie A because I don't believe in Allegri. But he took the what Juventus did 10 years ago. He took Conte, they got Conte, he kind of stabilized the ship, and then they moved on to Allegri, and Allegri really had them successful in two competitions. He just did the same thing, right? Now, I don't think it's going to look anything like that. I don't think that they're going to have much success at all in the Champions League because of Allegri's style of play. But the last thing that I'll say about this is Allegri's opportunity to not play the 3-5-2. You have the players to not play a 3-5-2 and like exactly like you said, fit somebody that's not a 9 next to a 9. Like he can play a 4-3-3. He can play the 4-1-2-1-2 that he played at Juventus. Now, I think that those days, unfortunately, for Allegri and Napoli fans are behind him. He did it at Juve. He did it at Milan. He made Chiesa play striker. He made Pulisic play striker. He made Cuckoo. He made so many guys play strikers that's not a striker.
Mm.
I don't see him changing for this, but they definitely have the roster to not play a 3-5-2.
So did Milan. Look where that got us. I think in any case, we want to keep this rolling for in terms of review. And you brought up De Laurentiis and taking the model that Juventus took 10 years ago. Doesn't seem like that's the model Juventus is taking now. Finishing here in sixth, they brought in Spalletti middle of the season while Juventus was in sixth. You end up in the same exact spot. Motts, give me your take on the season, and I'll give you one more leading question. That did Spalletti truly earn more than one season at the helm?
Which question should I answer first? The second one?
I think you should just vent for a second. Tell me how the season went from your eyes, from your eyeballs, from the seat of a Juve fanatic, and then take on the Spalletti take, because I think it's an interesting question.
The season was a roller coaster. There's no other way to put it. There was ups and downs like crazy. The first part of the season was down with Tudor, and then Spalletti came in, struggled at first, but then
I completely
we went on.
forgot that Tudor was even
Yes, he was, and we went on a pretty decent unbeaten streak with Spalletti. I think it was 10 or 11 games where we didn't lose. We drew some. And then, but in the money end of the season, when it was time to go win Champions League, we just absolutely dropped the balls. We finished the last 5 games, 1 win, 3 draws, and a loss. The last game of the season, we at least had a chance to jump Milan when we were up 2-0 and lost concentration and tied 2-2. And so we finished in 6th. So terrible. And I get it. The Champions League was out, but you still have to lock in for 90 minutes and finish your game out. So that's what the Juventus season was. It was just a roller coaster, right? We had a complete and utter. We didn't even have a goalie half the games. Like I think there was a stat on Di Gregoria, who I was a fan of coming into the season. He was very good last year. I don't know what happened. He let
got the yips.
14 shots in his goal out of 34 first attempt shots in the game. So basically, if you shot the ball at Juventus, half of them went in the net and they started 1-0
on the first shot of the
game. And Juventus's stat was they couldn't come from behind. They just they lost every game or they tied every game that they were losing. So when they start off 0-1, it's hard to get 3 points this season for Juventus. So I think there's fixable things, right? That's the main part. You take that away, and we're in a much better spot, right? So you fix the goalie area. Then you got to fix the mindset that being able to lock in for 90 minutes and understand the game, because that Fiorentina game showed these guys don't get they don't get the moment. They don't have any true leaders. And listen, do I think Spalletti earned the extra season? I'm going to say no, because the contract said you got to finish in fourth to earn the next season. You came in sixth, you finished in sixth. Why I'm okay with them extending Spalletti? One, I've said it since we've had him, the style of play, I like it. Two, I come on here every single episode and I say, you say it too. Stop getting rid of players after a year, after half a year, and continue the cycle of you just got players for one manager. Now you have a new manager in that wants different players. These players are trying to learn his system. Then you get a new manager and you got to learn another system. You got to play in different positions. These players clearly understand Spalletti's system. The style of play is attacking. Everybody on the pitch you can see is buying into it. It's just the execution is not there. And that's because of the players, plain and simple. They are not up to the Juventus standard. They are not up to the Juventus caliber players. Spalletti has met with Juventus management multiple times, said he wants big signings. We don't know if that's going to be able to happen because of where we finished. But at the end of the day, clear house, get some new players in, get players that Spalletti approves, give him the season. If he doesn't do well, then you can wash your hands with him. So that's my answer. That's my long-winded answer of the season and what I think of Spalletti.
Listen, I agree with you in what you've been saying all season, in that Spalletti has significantly changed the quality of play on the pitch for Juventus. I will also say, and I said this on the episode when it happened, that having Spalletti sign that deal with 10 games to go in this season was a mistake. Truly a mistake. Because Juventus was playing their best ball. And for you to give Spalletti that little bit of a security blanket didn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying that he took it as a security blanket, but you can't say that it had no bearing on how you approached the last couple of games there. I do agree that you can't just continuously rotate managers. It's not a recipe for success. You've never seen a team be able to continuously bring in new managers and keep up some level of success. So to keep Spalletti, I agree. When they did it, fully disagree. And I would also say that it was very clear throughout the entire second half of the season that what Spalletti was doing was patchwork. He was working with a roster that was not his. He was making the best out of what he had. It was very clear. And there is a true problem at the Juventus 9. No doubt about it. They tried so hard to figure that one out. You spend money, bring in Lo Zopenda. You bring in Jonathan David on a free after a couple of seasons of following him from Ligue 1. You keep Dusan Vlahovic, the highest paid player in Serie A, and you try to rotate through those three, and nothing worked. We saw success with Roma, bringing in Daniel Malin, where when you get the manager, the players that they want, which Gasperini had a pretty decent summer last year. I don't know why he kept saying that none of those players are the ones he wanted. But in any case, he claims that the winter window there were players that he wanted. And clearly that works. That works when you get players that your manager wants to play on the pitch and how he wants to play. And so this summer is going to be incredibly important for Juventus, but I think they're in a great spot to take advantage of a market where Spalletti knows as well. Spalletti knows this league incredibly well. He knows what he wants to do with the style of player. It is not so long ago that Spalletti won the Scudetto at Napoli, and I don't think that it's going to be too far along the road here for them to be battling for top two again if they have the right summer window.
Yeah, I will say this as well. Over the last couple weeks, the names that we've been linked to that Spalletti wants, oh my God, I don't like it. It's literally, he's going after fucking the Napoli team that he won with. He wants like Labacca, Di Lorenzo, Emerson Royale is one of them. I was like,
Oh,
excuse me, not Emerson Royale, Emerson, the Italian one. Emerson Palmer, even worse. But so I don't love the names, but I keep them.
I
We'll
saw
see what the
a
summer has.
Vicario to replace the goalie issue,
Yes,
which I
and then
think that's
what's
And I
his
saw
name?
Goretzka's now in the works,
No,
which Milan's trying to go after.
yeah, and also the goalie that we're linked to heavily now is Emi Martinez, which we need a
Oh, I
leader.
saw Allison was linked as well for a little
Allison,
bit.
Liverpool said it's not happening. We're keeping Allison, but I'm good with Emi
I don't
Martinez.
think Emmy solves the problem. I think Emmy's just the same issue as Di Gregorio, where he's not all there all the time. I think Vicario is gonna be your best bet. Bring Vicario, who had a fucking unreal season at Empoli, back to Serie A. That's a great signing, in my
We'll
opinion,
see.
especially with what
Neither
Di
here nor
Gregorio did
there
this
on
season.
the transfer list of Juventus. We'll talk about that
Fair,
later.
fair,
But
fair.
one thing I did want to, and I touched on it really briefly when we talked about Roma in third, and you just kind of mentioned it, is the difference with the striker and the goalie. Like Juventus and Roma, in my opinion, didn't have that much different seasons. It was ups and downs. It was consistent play, not consistent play. The difference was Svilar and Daniel Malin. And in the last match day, Roma was playing Verona, and it was a one-on-one with Svilar and the Verona attacker, and Svilar saved it. And that it was 0-0 at that point, and from then on, Roma just dominated the game, and they went on and handedly won. But like your goalie wins you games, and your strikers win you games. Juventus strikers, I think, scored a total of Daniel Malin's goals from January to the end of the season, and Di Gregorio let in every possible goal, and Spilar stopped so many goals. And so like at the very opposite ends, not opposite ends, but like that's why Roma is deservedly in third and Juventus is deservedly in sixth. Because everything else I think was pretty similar.
Yeah, and before we just move on to seventh place here and round out our European competition, representatives would sit here and has sat here and vehemently denied the importance of a good goalie for a team. Maybe I'm misrepresenting that in the fact that goalies maybe aren't worth what they go for in some transfer windows, but he has been anti goalie before. And Serie A right now is a pure example of why it's so important to have a solid guy between the pipes. We're in a golden age right now of Serie A goalies, I would say. Mignon has certainly fallen off, but you have
He's still good.
Carnesecchi out of Atalanta and a phenomenal keeper. Probably should have been goalie this season. Svilar held up Roma. We already talked about Svilar. My boy Vanya at Napoli. Vanya has a running mate in Merit as well. I talked about Mignon. Di Gregorio is supposed to be in this conversation, but a horrific season, just going to show how important it is to have a consistency but in the goalkeeper. We've got some young guys, Suzuki out of Parma, who's going to be representing Japan at the World Cup this summer. Como's goalie Butez had a great season as well and truly was important for that system because their center backs were also really good on the ball, and having Butez as an outlet, being good on the ball as well as being a shot stopper, pure shot stopper. Great goalie. Golden age of goalkeepers in Serie A right now. Josep Martinez is actually the backup for Inter, but I think he's better than Sommer. And so
So that's on the opposite end, right? Like Inter, although they won the Scudetto, they won by 9
that's
points.
true.
Summer almost he
Struggled.
they didn't break away earlier because of some of his play.
That's true.
So that's
That's
on the
true.
opposite end where it's like, all right, it's time to move on.
Yeah. Goalie, important position. And Serie A is showing it right in front of your face. But like I said, Paisans, rounding out our representation for European ball next year in seventh. If you had asked us at the beginning of the season, or I guess the first quarter of the season, would this team be here? Probably not. Probably not. But Atalanta in seventh, the team out of Bergamo, really big turnaround. Really big turnaround for this team. And quite a surprise at the end of the season. Atalanta bring in Raffaele Palladino, fan favorite of the pod, to turn the season around, brings them from 13th to 7th, and honestly could have been top 4 at some points this season.
Well,
And probably because of that chance and because of where they ended up, led to Palladino's sacking. No longer at the helm at Atalanta after finishing in 7th, turning this team around. What is this guy's deal? This is now 2 seasons in a row where he's done a phenomenal job leading a team. Last year with Fiorentina to the Conference League, this year turning Atalanta around, bringing them back to the Conference League and getting the sack at the end of the season. What is he doing in the locker room?
I don't know. I don't know what this made no sense. As another thing you forgot to mention, Coppa Italia final, furthest in the Champions League, all under Palladino. Like what on earth
Coppa Italia
possesses
semifinal.
Semifinals? I apologize, you're right, semifinal. They lost to,
Lazio.
Como. Lazio. I mean, they found their guy for the next 10
Had
years
him.
to
Had him.
replace Gasperini, and what do? They bring in Maurizio Sarri? Like, this is the constant head scratching. This is literally like, think about it. It is like the Serie A MO, like what they're about. You have a good, young, talented, promising, and I'm gonna say player because it normally happens players. Player versus a old veteran, been in the league, probably it should be on his way out, but they
Overpaid.
overpaid, but they don't want to usher in the new in terms of players. And now it's happening at the manager level, it's happening at the player level, it's happening at every single level. Unless he comes in with a gun and tries and threatens to kill all of his players or the front office, how do you let him out of your building? And I'll go one more further. How is he not already on a team's bench? And more specifically, maybe Milan's bench. Bologna just lost their coach. I'm not sure if they put anybody in yet. Bologna should have him already. Before he was on Fiorentina, he was at Monza. Monza was at 10th. They got relegated the next season in last place. Fiorentina this season 15th.
Dog shit.
Atalanta,
With a way better roster.
he got Atalanta that was, oh my God, struggling. And he made that, like, to your point, they were close to finishing in maybe 5th or 6th, better than 7th, but their season was such a bad start. You take this. You take this season, you appreciate him for what he did, and you get excited for next year. If I'm
100%.
an Atalanta fan, I am not excited for next year. Maybe I'm excited for 1 year because Sarri can have some high highs and play really attractive style of football. But I know Sarri has a ceiling. I know he's got an expiration date. I don't know what that's going to look like in 2 years down the road. I know in 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, we could be humming like we did with Gasperini with Palladino, and they let him go. Mind boggling. Makes no sense.
And the part for me that makes this even more of a head scratcher is like Atalanta is the progressive managed team in Serie A. They're the newly adopted.
Not even new. They've been doing it. They've been doing it
I
for
know, but
8 years.
they're really always been at the forefront of transfer business, bringing in new guys, developing players. I know Gasparini was there for a very long time, and he's an old head, but Palladino just felt like the perfect guy to bring into this project, and I truly believe that the players loved playing for him because
It looked like it.
it was a very clear turnaround for a lot of these guys from where they were before Palladino to where they were after. And in my opinion, Palladino, if they kept him, probably keeps a majority of the roster intact just because of him and his existence. Now you have a scenario where old ass Maurizio Sarri's coming in. If you can't beat him, join him. They take Lazio's manager, bring him in, and I'm not certain that a lot of these players care for Sarri, nor do they have any allegiance now to the club. They've had so much turnover. So now, we're going to talk about it in a second, but you've got a couple of key players walking straight out the door. This is going to be a huge rebuild now. And you don't have the money from finishing top 4 like you did last year. You don't have a core because it was either aging or they're walking out the door. And I don't think that Sarri's up for this challenge. He's far too old. This is not the project for him. And I think Atalanta made a huge mistake here, barring the
Huge.
fact that Palladino may or may not have threatened the entire front office. I don't know. But this is truly a head scratcher going into a very important season for Atalanta to keep the momentum that
Yeah.
they seemingly had built.
And I'd take it a step further. If you go back and look when Fiorentina hired Palladino, they finished in 7th. Granted, the next year they finished in 7th again, but like it was the
It was
style of
better
play.
though. It was
It was
way
it was
better.
way better, and
Eye test.
he got them to finish in 7th when he got him at 13th. Spalletti got Juventus to finish in 6th, and he got him in 6th. Like,
Wild.
it doesn't make any sense.
It's classic Serie A, like you said.
It's
This is
classic. It's
classic
classic
Serie
Serie A. And
A.
you know what I'll say too? Because I agree with you. Atalanta has always been like good business. They understand good business. They execute. They're hard negotiators when it comes to selling players. They buy low and sell high. They found Gasperini 8 to 9 years ago. He was what he was. It looked like they found their next one. It kind of, and it's in a different light again because this goes into players. But this move really much it can definitely set back Atalanta for a long time. But it really, really reminded me of what Bologna did this summer. And I know Vos thinks that Bernardeschi had a good year, but Bologna was like the Como before the Como, investing in young talent and overachieving, finding these new players. And last summer, they decided to get Bernardeschi and Immobile and all these old Serie A Italian vets. And look what happened to them. They fell apart. They didn't have a good year at all. And this just kind of reminds me of that with Sarri. Granted, it's a manager's appointment, not players, but it's in the same vein. And I wouldn't be shocked if Atalanta are sitting eighth, ninth, 10th next year, or they don't improve on the seventh, which I think Palladino would have easily done.
Yeah, I fully agree. We've got a Lazio team that's back in the transfer market this year, so they're inherently going to be stronger next year. You've got a team like SAS who had a great season. Not sure how many of those players are going to leave, but if they can build on what they had for this season, without honorable mention, Fabio Grosso out at Sassuolo by his own decision. He's going to Fiorentina. I think that's a great step for him going into a promising project there, depending on who they keep from a Fiorentina perspective. But the Serie A continues to get stronger. And for Atalanta to take a step like this is going to hurt for a couple seasons. So remains to be seen, but they do round out Serie A's representation in European ball next year. And I'm not sure that Atalanta is the favorite to win the conference league there,
No,
but
I mean
remains to be seen.
who finished in seventh in Prem. That's the favorite.
Was it Brighton? I think Brighton's going to the conference league.
I don't know, but and I know we kind of talked about this the other day, but it's the Prem will always be the favorite of every European competition just because the money they can spend. Moving on.
And they will. And they will. Paisans, that is our representation. Very quickly, before we go to a couple of farewells, new segment on the pod, farewells, we're going to greet the new members of Serie A, the newly promoted Serie B teams. And these names are not too far distant from our memories. In first place, Venezia returns to Serie A. They are going to start their new campaign for the Scudetto next season after a very strong season there in Serie B. Happy to have them back. Hopefully they bring some heat, some fire to the kit game in the top tier. In second, Frosinone returning to Serie A. I think it's been 2 seasons without Frosinone, 2 or 3.
Yeah, they got
They
relegated
were an
when
interesting
Sule was
squad.
loaned out.
Yeah, they were an interesting squad a couple of years ago. Not sure what the outlook there is, but a big player coming back to Serie A, third place Serie B, none other than Monza. Monza is back. People forget we've seen Monza. We've seen Monza play at the Allianz. Hopefully they turn it around. The last time that they were in Serie A 2 seasons ago, a really poor showing. Hopefully they can do a bit better than their last stint in Serie A. That
Yeah,
rounds it
and
out.
just quick honorable mention, team that was just barely missed it, Palermo, they did get
Yeah.
the promotion king himself in Inzaghi,
People.
not the Inter Inzaghi, his brother Filippo. He's been able to get a ton of teams promoted. They just barely missed the boat. Team to look out for next year, maybe a favorite to win to get promoted. We'll see.
Listen, Pipo Inzaghi is deathly allergic to Serie A. I think he threw the season because Palermo's a good team. He must have thrown the season. He didn't want to leave Palermo. He explicitly did not follow who was it that got promoted? Was it Pisa? He was the Pisa manager. They
Yeah,
get
he
promoted.
left.
He leaves Pisa in dire straits. They had no business being on the pitch in most of their games except for against Milan in Serie A. I think he might have thrown the season to keep Palermo in Serie B, but c'est la vie. C'est la vie, people. Enjoy your time down there. Like I said, Paisans, new segment on the pod. Farewells. Farewells. Goodbye. Arrivederci. Ciao. We are saying goodbye to the bottom 3 relegated teams. That starts with team in 18th. A really sad downfall. Really sad downfall. I was really excited for this team coming into like the second third of the season, I would say. Cremonese down to Serie B. The Jamie Vardy party is over. Couple of names that maybe stay up potentially. We'll see. But they deserved more. They deserved more. Lecce probably no business staying up, but Cremonese down to Serie B. Following them, 19th, just a project that could never get going. Verona. They couldn't get out of their own way. They had talent. They have talent. They just couldn't get it done. Couldn't figure it out. They'll figure it out next year. Maybe they'll be back up in 2 seasons from now. But last but not least, already mentioned, and to no surprise of anybody, the Tower Boys, Pisa in 20th. Really, bad season
A lot
out
of
of Pisa.
ties.
They, I would like to say it was good effort, but it wasn't. They were terrible. They were horrible, and they still tied Milan at the beginning of the season. We're fucking dog shit. But farewell to them. And then last but not least, a couple of names out the door player wise, Motts. We're gonna have to
Yes,
say
we have to
goodbye to
say goodbye.
some long standing Serie A titans, I would say.
Yes. I mean, two of these, the top two are definitely Serie A Titans. One being Denzel Dumfries making his move to Real Madrid.
Big
Pretty
move.
pretty cheap as well. He had a player option or a release
They get a
clause
release
for
clause.
25 million. So really
Steal.
good business by Madrid there. However, this is gonna be a little Madrid tangent. They just got Trent. They need defenders. Denzel's better attacking. It just doesn't fit. Madrid, they don't buy for fits. They just buy names and like players on the pitch. Denzel Dumfries, beast. We all know what he has done in the Serie A over the last 2-3 seasons. He's been extremely impressive. Just assist, goal machine. That is a big hole for Inter to fill next season. However, he did miss a lot of time, so they were able to kind of see what they would look like without him. So it won't be as big as a whole because of this past season, how much time he missed. But make no mistake about it, Denzel Dumfries, an absolute animal and will be missed. And the league did get slightly worse with him leaving.
RIP. I think it's a weird buy by Real. Obviously, Dumfries really strong at the wingback position. Real plays the back four. We have seen Dumfries play in the back four for the Netherlands. We'll probably see that this summer again. I don't know if
But
it's the
even in
right
the
fit.
Netherlands, it's like a makeshift back four.
Yeah, it's a
In possession,
makeshift.
it's a back three.
We'll see. We always talk about how Dumfries is known for his offense. He is a good defender, so I think it'll be okay. It is just a weird buy for Real, and I think on the Inter side, they have their entire summer fully focused on getting Palestra. I think they put their first offer out at 40 million euros, which is a hefty fee for a guy
But
that's
Atalanta want 50 and they do not come down from their price.
listen. And if Atalanta want 50 for him, so be it. They should hold the line there because they also have Bellanova that they can ship out if they need be and hold the line with Palestra. Get your 50, get your bag for him. He's a great talent, young talent. Don't give up so easily, especially to the Scudetto winners. So I think an even bigger hole to the league here is going to be missing from Bergamo next season.
Yep. Ederson official to Manchester United, 45 million and bonuses.
Good bit of
This is
business by Man U.
Yeah, good business. This is a player that has every season has been linked away. Atalanta have been able to keep him, and he had 2 years left on his contract. So if they didn't do it this year, he would have left for free next season. So they did cash in, but this guy is the one of the most underrated midfielders. Not in the league, in the world. For whatever reason, he doesn't get the recognition, but he covers ground. He is an elite passer. He's a pacer. He can do it all. Atalanta is going to have a ginormous hole that they're going to need to replace. Now, they've been able to do that time and time again.
This one's different.
Manchester United are getting a great player. They might kill him as they've been able to kill a lot of players that they have purchased. But yeah, man, Ederson, I think we saw him score he scored it against
I think
Milan,
he
right?
scored against Milan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said, he defends. He creates for other people. He takes stress off other people. We've seen Coop Miners be one of the best players in this league next to him, and then not next to him. Forgets how to play soccer. I think that is a testimony to how good this man is.
hmm
So yeah, listen, it's a good business by Atalanta because they were able to sell him for 45-ish mil, but he's a great player and it's going to be a big hole to fill. And once again, the league did get just a little bit worse.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that you said right there is that he's a pacer, and that really wasn't him until this season. So he's still getting better. He's still developing his game. He's still morphing into different scenarios, which you can appreciate. And I think your other point about how he's definitely underrated is 100% true. And the fact that he didn't get the initial call up to the Brazil national team was a travesty. The fact that now he's being called up to replace Wesley on the roster, I guarantee you by the end of the group stage here, Brazil will be starting Ederson. He is that good. He is that good. He will make the Brazil national team better, and he deserves to be out there and in the limelight. And so I think in the next farewell, Motts, this one is going to bring you the biggest smile of all time.
Yeah, this is not a bittersweet goodbye. Constant back and forth all season. Dusan
Don't
Vlahovic
let
to
the door
Juventus.
hit you on the way out, brother.
Were they going to extend him? Were they not? I was so scared that he was going to score in the last game of the season, and that was going to mean Juventus are going to extend him. He did score twice in the last game of the season, but could not agree on contracts. He wanted more money. He obviously didn't deserve the
Um,
money on his play on the pitch has not deserved him to be the highest paid player in the Serie A over the last 4 years. It didn't just he understood he had to take a small pay cut, but it still wasn't he wasn't willing to take as much as he should, and Juventus wasn't willing to budge, which I will give credit to Juventus there. Thank you because Juventus is just awful at negotiating. They normally just give in. So Dusan Vlahovic confirmed, unless something crazy happens, he will be leaving Juventus. Just a player that did not pan out, bought him for $80 million, was supposed to be the Dybala successor and never had a season where he scored over 20 goals, just never really worked. And so
Good riddance.
I'm pleased. I'm very happy that we are getting rid of Vlahovic.
And I'm equally as happy that the links to Milan have died out as well. So good riddance, farewell, Dusan Vlahovic, currently linked to Newcastle. I'm sure a couple of other teams will be suitors, but he does come with a hefty paycheck. We'll see who's willing to pay for that outside of Saudi. And then last but not least on our list today of farewells, I will take this one, Motts. There is a tear in my eye. Milan Allegri pushing the one, the only, the Ballon d'Or legend, Luka Modric, to retirement. Rumor is he will not be returning to professional soccer here after the World Cup this summer. It was an absolute pleasure having him in the Rossoneri, but we just couldn't get it done. No top four means no Luka Modric. And I will echo Motts in saying the league is certainly worse off without Luka Modric on the pitch. RIP. Paisans, thank you. Thank you for joining in again. Apologies for a little bit of a hiatus. We had to get over an emotional end to the Serie A season, but that is a wrap on the 2025-2026 Serie A campaign. It was an absolute pleasure covering it all with you guys. It was a fun season. It wasn't the happiest of seasons, but it was certainly fun, and we're certainly looking to be back and better than ever for the 2026-2027 campaign, Serie A. That is right, Calcio Culture, renewing for another season on Spotify and Apple Pods. They are bringing us back. We will be back. We're excited to be back. And you know where to find us on all the socials. And it's really important that you find us on all the socials on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, at Calcio Culture FC, and pre-recorded on Spotify and Apple Pods. And why is it so important? Now more than ever, Paisans, the big announcement of the summer, Calcio Culture is covering the World Cup. Calcio Culture will be boots on the ground for a couple of games coming up here in the States. We're excited that we have the world's biggest tournament here on the homeland. Motts and I will be in Philadelphia for Senegal, Ecuador this coming Sunday.
Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast and Ecuador on Sunday in Philadelphia. Motts and I will also be in person at MetLife at New York, New Jersey Stadium for France, Senegal on this upcoming Tuesday. I will then be following all that up with a game at Gillette in Massachusetts. That's going to be Scotland, Morocco, Scott McTominay in the flesh, Billy Gilmore in the flesh, couple of Napoleon players. And last but not least, Vos and I may or may not be making an appearance at a knockout stage game at the New York, New Jersey Stadium. So listen, Paisans, reach out to us. Let us know if you're going to be at any games. We want to interact with you. If it's not at a game, if you live here in New York City, Motts and I are proud residents. Hit us up. Let's watch some games. Let's grab some pints. It's going to be an amazing summer. A lot of coverage coming at you. We're going to try a couple of different things. It may not be the regular cadence that you're used to every Monday, but we will record when we have some content to put out there to share our opinions, to cover it all and be side by side with you for this absolutely wonderful tournament here in the States. World Cup, USA, Mexico, Canada, 2026. Calcio Culture is live.
Wow, that was great, Logan. I got excited. I'm excited for this coverage. Like he said, we're not really sure what it's going to look like, but we will be breaking down the games as much as we can. We'll obviously be watching as much games as we can. Logan already said the games we're going to. Maybe we'll go for another one. Who knows? Ticket prices might not allow us, but maybe we'll splooge, maybe not. We'll see. But listen, whether you're watching at the stadium, on the couch, it's going to be epic. We are excited. Hopefully, Serie A players can show out and represent this league. I remember the last World Cup, they had a very, very good showing. So hopefully they can repeat that. because we do not have any representation from Italy because they did not make it. But we do have USA, 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 USA. So yeah, Logan, that was phenomenal right there. Great job. I'll wrap us up with our classic couch or Paisans. We apologize. We thank you. We're excited. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Do not be a Gagoose and Forza Calcio